$5,000 grant, $10,000 grant, $50,000 grant. Several big memos were surfaced in the last 24 hours about what they want to put in the continuing resolution. Are there grants in there? And late today, some of them were switched. They backed other memos, and they're switching their positions. So are the switches now including grants or removing the grants? Meantime, will the other grants that we had hoped for come in January? And where would they be? In standalone bills or stimulus check bills? Meantime, I'll be going over how you can get grants right now. Thousands of dollars. Not $100, not $200. Every viewer of this channel understands that the grant money is out there just for a few more weeks, no less than probably 14 more days. As states, cities, and counties are announcing grant programs around the hour, around the clock, that weren't even there 24 hours ago. I have all the incredible details breaking across this board, from city to state, sea to ocean, and hairstyle to hairstyle. This is Purple. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is all the versions of memos coming out of the second stimulus in just the last few hours. And through them, I have sorted through which grants are surviving, which grants are going away, which grants are still on the table. Meantime, I'll be focusing on the grants that you could be getting right now. Please subscribe, because ultimately, this stuff is a mess. I mean, it sounds like a mess. It is a mess. And while the budget bill needs to be signed by December 11th, you're not going to get money until at least December 11th, if at all, depending on what these people do. The difference is I'm getting you money right now. There's CARES Act 1 money, there's escalated benefits, and there's EIDL money that you can get right now. Not $100, not $500, thousands of dollars, up to $20,000. I've gotten viewers up to $300,000 collectively since I started this about 12 days ago, and that's on top of the $5 to $25 million that I got viewers for EIDL back in the spring. The reason why is because I am fighting and fighting to get you money right now and changing people's lives. People are sending incredible messages thanking me and the incredible 9 volunteers of this channel. The volunteers not only go over and above, they join me on Purple Power Live every night and take notes as other viewers announce, I found a grant in Mississippi this way. I found a grant in New York this way. I found a grant in Kentucky this way. And then take that information and share it with you. So please, there is no community out there that does this. This is a community about sharing and helping one another. Please subscribe. Also, like this video. In this video, I'll be going over what grants are in these bills or memos or whatever you want to call them, and where grants would survive thereafter. I'll answer the question about the $2,400. SSI and SSDI. And then I'll be getting to this big grant money, how you should be getting it right now, because ultimately that's the most important thing for you. And I'm so glad that viewers understand the reality of the situation. This versus money right now. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news today is that there's thousands of dollars available for you in your cities and counties for you to get right now. And that money should be gotten for you right now, and that your focus should not so much be on a potential stimulus check that may potentially come in a budget bill that is due by December 11th, but I will be updating you about that as well. Additionally, what's coming on in January. The breaking news as we sit here today is that the congressional fights over this budget bill, which has a December 11th deadline, is so confusing and so ever-changing that it's almost hard for you to follow or me to follow, because I have to record, and then the next recording makes the prior recording almost irrelevant. It's changing that quickly. The current situation as we sit here at about 1:40 Pacific Standard Time when this recording is made is the following. The Democratic leadership of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer has now backed off of her demands for a stimulus check as of yesterday, backed off his memo of this morning, and are now saying, no, we're not doing that. We are now supporting a junk bipartisan, well, they're not calling it junk, I'm calling it junk, bipartisan memo that was introduced and grandstanded yesterday that everyone summarily rejected as junk. Now the Democrats of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are supporting that. This comes on the heels as Mitch McConnell rejected it, as Steve Mnuchin says, yeah, I see it's out there. I'll take a look at it. And Steve Mnuchin told Nancy Pelosi, no, I'm not negotiating with you solely for the CR. That's a whole issue that's being handled by Mitch McConnell. You need to deal with him. The question is really a big power struggle. And ultimately, I don't need to have to spend time recording saying, why are they changing? I need to go over where the money is with you. None of these bills or proposals or whatever you want to call them, memos or shopping lists, having a stimulus check. None of them have an eviction moratorium, and none of them have a mortgage forbearance. All of them are fatally flawed on their face. Many of them have stuff that shouldn't be in them. Many of them have stuff that goes on for 5-6 years, not emergency provisions of 2-3 months or 1 month. So the bills, as the memos is written, all are illogical, but basically don't do what they're supposed to do. Is there any grants in any of these memos? The answer is yes. Every memo has a grant for PPP. And depending on the version of whosever memo it is, some memos have enormous grants of PPP, upwards of $2 million given to rich business owners for their PPP. Crazy. Does it have other grants? Yes, it has it has a tax deduction version of a grant. For rich people who go out to business lunches, they can deduct their business lunches. There's also a grant for Shamu, no joke, not Shamu himself, but for the fish. The fishing industry gets a grant, and the cows get another grant. Lord. There is also some grants for cities and states that, according to Moody's Analytics, is the equivalent of 2 to 3 years of free money. That is free money that they don't need. And then there's some grants for other people, none of which that qualifies for you. So is there some hazard pay grant? No. Is there some CDC grant? No. Is there some EIDL grant? No. Is there some SSI and SSDI? No. Is there some rent grant? No. Yeah, everything that the Democrats claim to be in favor of is not in there. They claim to be in favor of rent, food, children, and things like that. And there's not a single penny in there anywhere for any of those things. It's again a big a big slide in tactic for lobbyists. The things in here just smell corporate. Lobbyists got this stuff in there. There's actually nothing in there for the airlines. I don't know who their lobbyists. They should probably fire that person, because despite all their attempts, they never get anything in any of these things. One of the things does have something for transportation, though. There you go. So where would SSI and SSDI get their grant? Where would their $2,400 go? It would be a standalone bill in January. I don't see it being drafted in the next few days, but it could be drafted in the next few days. It's a Joe Biden item. It's not a Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't even talk about it. How about EIDL? The Democrats... one of the versions of the multi-personality Heroes Act, or keeps on changing his personality, has a series of wonderful grants. The question is, will any of these survive past any of this chaoticness? I believe they will. So there's a hazard pay grant. Up to $10,000 if you are an essential worker anytime you work from January up to the present. $13 an hour, calculated by the number of hours from January. Actually, January to 2 months after the pandemic's over. So January to next year, $13 an hour, up to $10,000 an hour, up to $10,000, bam, in your bank account. If you made over $100,000, then it would be reduced to $5,000. All really good. I don't think it'll ever pass in the GOP Senate, if the Senate stays GOP after the January 5th Georgia runoff race. I do believe a watered down version of it, the smaller would. Next, EIDL grants. Yes, an EIDL grant will be coming in 2 forms. One that gives you the EIDL that you never got. I have hundreds of thousands of viewers who applied for the EIDL grant and the program went closed while their application was pending. Then I have millions of viewers that applied and only got $1,000. That expected to be paid retroactively, the remainder of the $10,000. $2,000, and then new EIDL applicants are expected to get money as well. CDC grant, that's likely to happen. There's a CDC grant in the HEROES Act that pays money to frontline workers. In addition to the hazard pay grant, that's all really good news. Rent grant, yes. Food grant, yes. And now you see sort of all those grants out there. But you see, as we go through what happened today with all this, that suddenly something that the Democrats claim they really wanted 24 hours earlier, they just throw away. So ultimately, we have to fight for all these things, whether it's hazard pay or something else. Now, let me get to the big issue, which is the money right now. I'm so excited for you because this is money right now, and it's certain, and it's there, and there's no question about it. I got to tell you, I haven't said this on any of the recordings, but I think it's almost 99.99% of the time when the viewer has found the grant or the volunteer has found the grant for the viewer, they get it. It's just finding it and then you get it. There's never been a situation where the grant that I've heard yet so far that they get the grant, but they don't give them the amount of money that they asked. So that's all really good news. Where is this grant money? This is what's changing today. I've been saying that it's in your city, your county, and your state. Your city hall, your county hall, and your state housing authority. What's new today is because of yesterday, we now know in the case of New York, for example, that it's not in the same state housing authority, but in sometimes a separate state housing authority that deals with low income issues. So if you have a separate housing authority in your city, county, or state that deals with low income housing issues, they may be administering the grant, even if you are not in a specialized type of housing, even if you're in a normal type of apartment. That's the first thing. The second thing, utility grants are being offered nearly 99% of the time by either the utility company or the city, county, or state. The utility company, and then the private organizations, well, I'll get to a second. The utility companies are just been incredible. The utility grants are not $20,000, but they are anywhere from a few $100s to upwards of a few $1,000s. You need to be proactive and call every utility company. If you don't see rent grant where you are, do utility grants, because utility grants is a lot of money. Then food. I don't hear people talk about food so often, but they generally can get food. And finally, the combos. A lot of viewers are getting combos where they're getting rent plus 4 other things. Rent plus food plus utilities plus a move-in or move-out stimulus check. Additionally, I get this question. If you're homeless, yes, you can get a rent grant. You get the first, last, and security deposit and months of rent. You need to find the place. So they won't give you money just to sort of put in, just hold on your body. They will give you money so that you get into an apartment. Next, it's important to understand that now that you understand rent, that the rent situation is sometimes solved by religious and political organizations. Yesterday and the day before on Purple Power Live, I had viewers in Kentucky, Mississippi, and Maine today, and another state, New York, come forward and talk about, and that was on top of Alabama and Louisiana last week, come forward and talk about political action groups, community action groups, or religious groups that are paying rent grants. The volunteers know about this because the volunteers are actually going into Purple Power Live, listening and taking notes. Right after Purple Power Live is done, they're actually sometimes reaching out back to the viewer that had spoken to them, said, I couldn't find anything in Kentucky. They're like, I just was on Purple Power Live and we found something for Kentucky. Here it is. So that's why the volunteers are just wonderful human beings. Next, it's also important to understand that you don't want to look on anything on a broad scale and presume it's where you are. Here's an example. Missouri. I got a lot of questions on Missouri on holidays, LA. Missouri statewide has nothing, but in the city of St. Louis or the county of St. Louis, they are doing rent grants. So things sort of change depending on where you look. Next, escalated benefits. I want you to get escalated benefits because ultimately when I'm talking about this stuff, these bills are not retroactive. Every single time I look at them, they rarely are retroactive when we're talking about FPUC. But when I talk about escalated benefits, they are retroactive. They're retroactive. What we're doing with escalated benefits is we're looking at whether you made $18,000 or more, 2019, or higher. $18,000 or higher. This is when you do escalated benefits. And it's for the weeks in which you are unemployed. If you are now employed, it doesn't make a difference. You can still do this for the weeks you're unemployed. Pull your 2019 tax return. Determine the way in which you're going to send this communication. I would prefer you send it by email or in the portal in which you do your unemployment benefits. Electronic delivery is the fastest. Get a copy of that tax return onto the electronic device you're using, whether it's your cell phone you're communicating with or your computer, and either scan it or take a picture of it. You need to get a physical digital copy of it onto your computer or your cell phone to send the message. And the message is the following. Dear Unemployment Office, please see my 2019 tax return in which I made $31,000 last year. And I'm currently being paid $120 a week for unemployment benefits. Please see if I qualify for additional weeks of benefits. Very simple. Additional weeks of benefits. Thank you. God bless. Set it off. Call the next day. Call the day after that. Keep on calling until it's approved. This is how much you'll generally get. If you've been unemployed since February or March, that's 30 weeks of unemployment. How much will you get? These are the numbers. If you made $18,000 to $25,000 2019, you'll raise your benefits by about $50 a week, which will be about $1,500, bam, right in your bank account. If you made $25,000 to $30,000 2019, you'll raise your benefits about $100 a week. $3,000, bam, in your account. And finally, if you made over $30,000 2019, you'll raise your benefits about $300 a week. Bam, $9,000 in your bank account. Several viewers have gotten $9,000 to $10,000 doing what I've said in this video. Next, EIDL. EIDL has really been a success story again. No one has gotten more EIDL have gotten more people EIDL applications approved than me. $5 to $25 million in the months of April, May, and June. And now back with a big storm of approvals. Approvals are coming in within about a 24 to 48 hour turnaround. If you show processing after you get an offer, which congratulations for the offer, and you accept it, and it still shows processing, call up SBA and ask to tier 2 and say, hi, I'm still processing. To do an EIDL and get it approved right away, you need the following two things. One, do it clean and don't mess up by mistyping. It sounds so obvious, but mistyping will literally make a mess for 5 months. Don't mistype. Go slowly when you type and check your work. It sounds obvious. Believe me, there's a reason why this channel's around, because that was the hit video for 2 months of this channel. People mistyped. Next, make sure you don't use things that don't belong with things. So, let me explain. If you're an Uber or Lyft driver, you are applying as an individual on page 1 of the application. Individual, solo practitioner, individual. If you own an LLC or corporation, a C Corp, that's the applicant, not you. So here's what the application looks like. The C Corp would put the C Corp's name, the corporation's name, it would put the corporation's EIN, the corporation's business address, and when it asks for the income, it would be the corporation's income, and it would be the corporation's bank account, not your bank account. You're the applicant if you are an Uber or Lyft. So it'd be your name is the name of the business, your personal checking account or savings account, your social security number, your line 1 and line 2 of your Schedule C. Done. And your social security number. Done. Finally, the last thing you need to know is that you ensure that your credit score is 570 or higher, Experian Advantage 3.0. Check that before you apply. Do not apply until you check that. Experian Vantage with a V 3.0, not 2.0, not 4.0, and only Experian Vantage 3.0. Not TransUnion, not FICO. That is what they use. If it's over 570, apply. If it's 560 or 550, call up Experian or go to experian.com/boost and do the boost for free. Raise you to 25 points, you be done. If you're much lower, like 500, call up Experian and get adverse entries removed from your credit score for free. It only takes a few days of work and you'll get it done. And that's it. The EIDL is funded at gross revenue, line 1 of your tax return, minus cost of goods sold divided by 2. If you made $30,000 and your cost of goods sold was 0, then it's $15,000. You do not have to have a 1099 to apply for an EIDL. You could have been in operation in January, but not in operation in 2019, but that will take a longer application to get approved. All incredible details, and thank you and congratulations to the new success stories of the approvals for the EIDL. I think there was about 4 in the last 48 hours, so really more successes. Coming up next is being a MITCH. Big developments on what's going on with MITCH and the CR. It's giving me a headache. I don't know about you, but we're going to get through this together. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and save my life.